During my weekend-long stay in Ontario, I visited a park on any coaster enthusiast's bucket list. The 17 roller coasters at Canada's Wonderland in Vaughan, Ontario, Canada have proved time and time again that despite having sister parks such as Cedar Point and Kings Island, that it is not to be overlooked. In today's very first edition of Coasters from Worst to Best, I'll be ranking the coasters of Canada's Wonderland based entirely on personal experience. Now before I get started, I must note that both the Bat and Wonder Mountain's Guardian were closed, and I was too tall to ride Taxi Jam, so those three will be based both on mine and outsider opinion. Coming in at number 17, we have by far the park's worst coaster, Time Warp. This Zamperla Volare has been at the park since 2004, and it takes one ride to find out that this ride has not aged well. This model already isn't good, but having already gone on the one in Luna Park, named Soarin' Eagle, I can confidently say that this one is much worse. The padding near your head is not comfortable whatsoever, especially for the amount of headbanging this ride permits. The train feels like a cage, and it rattles around the track, making you feel like you could fall off at any moment. I would only recommend it if you want to break your skull. Only ride this for the credit. At number 16, we have Taxi Jam. It's an E&F Miler kiddie coaster. I've only gone on one other one, and that was when I was really young, at Lake Compounce. Lake Compounce has one of these called Kiddie Coaster. There really isn't more to say. It's a good first coaster for kids, and it's only number 16 because it's not really intense. At number 15, we have Wonder Mountain's Guardian. Not even the park itself counts this as a roller coaster. Seriously, if you look on the website, it only says there's 16 coasters in the park, excluding this one. Aside from the 30-foot drop track and the first drop, it's really just a standard dark ride shooter. Dark rides have never really been my thing, so I'm putting this at number 15. At number 14, we have the park's inverted Vekoma Junior coaster, Silver Streak. I was lucky enough to ride this in the morning when the lines weren't an hour long. This coaster isn't really the worst, however, I got off this ride with a headache that was only worsened by Time Warp and Flight Deck. It's also a family coaster, and my sister really enjoyed it, so that made it better for me. However, I didn't really enjoy it, so I'm putting it at number 14. At number 13, we have Thunder Run. Thunder Run isn't horrible, it's just not that intense. It's a unique powered mine train. This layout consists of a bunch of turns, and the highlight of the ride was the double helix toward the end of the track. I actually had a unique experience on this ride, when it was stopped after the first lap to retrieve someone's phone, so I got 3 laps instead of 2. This ride is a nice family coaster, and I recommend it. At number 12, we have Flight Deck. Now, you can't really expect much out of Vekoma SLCs anymore, and this one doesn't prove me wrong. This one, unlike Riddler Revenge at Six Flags New England, which I actually enjoyed, has the old Vekoma restraints. It doesn't look like they're going to change them anytime soon. I was just hoping the ride would be over. It's definitely not the worst Vekoma SLC out there, but it's not the best either. It's enjoyably intense, just don't ride it and Time Warp back to back, like I did. That's just a guaranteed headache. In the number 11 spot, we have Ghoster Coaster. I genuinely enjoyed this ride. The first drop is more intense than anybody would expect, especially for a family coaster. There's also some pretty good airtime moments, like the double down after the first turn. I love how this coaster is fun for all ages, despite being such a small, compact coaster. My sister also loved this one. Just look at her reaction. Okay, so we just finished Ghoster Coaster. How do you rate it?
Amazing.
Out of 10.
11.
11? Wow. You liked it?
Yes.
Good job. Overall, I think it's a pretty good family coaster. To start the top 10, we have Wildebeest. This is a decent wooden coaster. I almost didn't get on this one, as it was closed most of the day. But luckily, I noticed that people were on it right before we left. It's a decently rough coaster, but it was still enjoyable. I'd say that my favorite part was the airtime moments. For a coaster only 82 feet high, it's got some nice airtime. I also met a cool groundhog while I was in line. Anyways, getting back on topic, I will do this ride again gladly the next time I visit. At number 9, we have The Fly, our mock wild mouse. I have to say that out of all the mock wild mouses I've ridden, this was the best one. The drop in the beginning is really fun, and the turns seem more forceful than on any other wild mouses, whatever. Anyways, this is a really fun ride, and while the lines are kind of annoying for just a wild mouse, it is worth the wait. Coming in at number 8, we have the Bat. Now, I've only done one other Vekoma Boomerang, which was Zoomerang at Lake Compounce, and I did enjoy that one. Since the Bat was closed, I'm using my experience from that ride on this list. It's a great ride, but it's a Vekoma Boomerang, so it only reaches number 8. I think it's a deserved number 8. At number 7, we have the notable Cedar Fair Clone Backlot Stunt Coaster. This specific version of the ride was the first of the trio to opening less than a month before the one at Kings Island. I can personally say that my expectations for this ride were exceeded. The launch goes straight into the triple helix and I grayed out at the bottom of it. There's some nice airtime moments on the bunny hills, and the dark section was near pitch black. Overall, both my sister and I really enjoyed this ride. Coming in just shy of the top 5 is Vortex. This was my first ever aero suspended coaster, and the intensity was off of my expected charts. The interactions with the mountain are pretty cool, but the rest of the ride is too forceful to process in the moment. The turn over the water was amazing, and the turn after the second drop had me crazy. The ride was way more intense than I expected it to be, and I hope that all other air suspended coasters out there are like this one. As an added bonus, here is my reaction.
Okay, just finished Vortex, first ever aero suspended, and it was a lot more intense than I thought it was going to be. Those turns really get you when they're back to back to back. But yeah, it was awesome. It was really intense, but it was awesome.
Starting the top 5, we have another aero coaster, Fyre. This was overall a great ride. The chain lift gives a great view of Leviathan, and the first 2 loops are really fun to go over. The corkscrews were a bit rough, but that goes for almost any aero looper. The roughest part for me was the abrupt start of the helix. It jammed me into the restraints a little bit. Other than that, this ride was fine. Simple layout, fun coaster. Okay, this one may be a bit of an unpopular and triggering opinion. At number 4, we have the mighty Canadian Mindbuster. I happen to have a soft spot for wooden coasters, and this one hit it. The out and back layout reminded me of my first time on Boulder Dash, and the ride wasn't nearly as rough as people said it was. The airtime is great, the helix at the end is forceful, and the head chopper effects under the water slides are awesome. Finally, I near fell asleep on the lift hill due to the comfortable padded seating. Then I realized I was on a roller coaster. A good one, too. I will definitely be back in line for this coaster next time I visit the park. Now we get into the big 3, which are all B&M coasters. Behemoth, Leviathan, and Yukon Striker. My first hyper coaster, my first dive coaster, and my first giga coaster. It was hard for me to determine which I liked more than the others, but I think I got it right for myself. Trigger warning for those who extremely disagree. In the number 3 spot, we have the newest coaster to the park, Yukon Striker. I got a second row seat on this ride, and it was amazing. The hold section was agonizing, as I awaited the 245-foot plunge before me. And then it lets go as you fly down a vertical drop into a tunnel. This coaster is tied with Valraven at Cedar Point for the world's tallest dive coaster, and this is the longest and fastest dive coaster, as well as having the tallest drop out of any dive coaster. I was only disappointed by the fact that there was no splashdown like on SheiKra at Busch Gardens Tampa. Otherwise, I am happy to say that this was my first hypercoaster and my first dive coaster. It is only my first hypercoaster because I happened to hop on it before I hop on the number 2 spot coaster, the airtime and length machine Behemoth. This hyper opened for the 2008 season and has been going strong ever since. The sign outside of the station alone was a sight to behold. Look at how, big the sign for Behemoth is. It's, mind-boggling. So I got a nice picture in front of it, and I got a great ride experience to go along with it. I got in the 2nd car back row and the 6th car back row. Both rides gave great airtime and were super fun. Some of the ride's defining features are the back-to-back helixes, airtime hills over the water, and of course the 230-foot lift hill. It's definitely worth grabbing a seat on this coaster, which is conveniently right next to the Backlot Stunt coaster in Mindbuster. I definitely recommend this ride. Finally, coming in at number 1, as expected, the 7th tallest fully built roller coaster in the world, Leviathan. Leviathan is a B&M Giga coaster that stands at a towering 306 feet, making it the 3rd tallest chain-lifted coaster behind Steel Dragon 2000 and Fury 325. Until the complete construction of the 525-foot Falcons Flight, if Six Flags Qiddiya ever opens, these numbers stand up to date. Leviathan was my first Giga coaster, and it is my new favorite roller coaster of, all time. Look at my initial reaction.
Alright, I just got off of this giant of a roller coaster, the Leviathan. That was amazing. The airtime on that thing was awesome. I got back row, so it was even better. And yeah, 8th tallest coaster in the world, and my first Giga coaster is done.
5,486 feet of pure adrenaline and excitement, as well as the impressive airtime as a result of a 306-foot, 90-mile-an-hour drop, was enough to put this as my number 1 at this park and of all time. Thanks so much to Canada's Wonderland for having such a great lineup of coasters, and I really do hope to get back there someday. Now, how I've decided I'm going to end all of these videos that I make is I'm going to make a little wish segment, a wish that I have for this park, maybe an addition or a subtraction from their lineup, or just like a theming, or anything that the park could need or that I want for the park. And now I think the best decision for this park to make is to get rid of the two hated ones. Scrap or relocate Time Warp and Flight Deck, or both. I'd say that the best option for the limited space here would be an RMC Raptor, like Wonder Woman Golden Lasso at Six Flags Fiesta Texas, or Stunt Pilot at Silverwood. I think it would be a new and exciting attraction, and it would give some light to the side of the park, and it would serve better than the two failing and hated attractions. These coasters are compact, have a few inversions, and can fly through the track, allowing lots of people to ride. Coaster count wouldn't be an issue either, as Snoopy's Racing Railway, a family-launched coaster, was announced earlier this month for the 2023 season. So, Canada's Wonderland, if you ever see this, please take it into consideration. I think it would make a lot of people happy. And, ladies and gentlemen, until next time.